Hello and welcome to Don't Evolve Me, the place like Ash catches Pikachu. We don't evolve, we just level up. Welcome to season 3. We're doing things differently. Brandon, how are you?
Living the
I
dream.
don't give a fuck. We're getting into Creatures Commandos right away.
All right. All right. All right.
Uh, I do. For those who do follow Don't Evolve Me, I will say I'll give a little context. Cut me off after a minute, Brandon.
I'll do my
So
best.
starting in season 3, we're just getting into the meat and potatoes of it. We're talking just the topic. We're doing Creatures Commandos, DCU, and we'll leave all the other extra stuff at the end. And that's basically what we're going to do from here on out. So that, yeah, we're just getting into it right away. Because once we get talking, it'll be like about 30 minutes before we get on topic. It's what life of ADHDers. So let's get into it. Creatures Commandos, the soft launch for James Gunn, DCU. The season is over. All 7 episodes have been released. Brandon, what is your just general thoughts on the season?
I mean, it makes me excited. I think that's what I would say. Excited for the future of DC.
I feel that's definitely on there. I more or less, I think just James Gunn, it kind of just confirms that James Gunn's got this. He can take a story that people aren't really, no one asked for. No one asked for Creatures Commandos, at least not like from a general population perspective. No one asked for Creatures Commandos. It's definitely not the first one that I thought of a TV show.
Definitely not what I thought would kick off the new DCU.
For sure.
Cartoon, yeah.
But it was a really good watch. And I think the way I phrase it is, it's very much just James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy feel. It is, he does this thing about the team writing where he makes a bunch of really cool characters. They go through this plot that is more or less interesting, exciting, but not like huge. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy is a little bit different, but it never felt like huge. If that makes sense. I guess in Creatures Commandos, the fate of the world was at stake, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But like it's like one of those stories that feels smaller. It feels more character based, but does enough for the larger lore and context. Like it adds
world
lore.
Building. Yep, world building.
Yeah. But the main focus is always on the characters. And I think just James Gunn, again, if it isn't Guardians of the Galaxy, if it isn't Scooby-Doo technically, because he wrote the Scooby-Doo movie, bit of lore for you.
Yeah.
If it's not Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, like again, he does it with Creatures Commandos. He makes you fall in love with characters. He gives them these characters that you don't think you would fall in love with otherwise. Backstories that makes you care about them. It makes you cry for them, and makes you love, and then throws them in on a plot that is more or less engaging and interesting. So I wrote a list of like general thoughts. The first one was obviously that I love the James Gunn writing, the team writing. Bride is dope. Frankenstein is interesting. I think that's the best way to put it. He's just he's just a very different character, but like anytime he speaks, I don't know if it's just David Harbour or if it's the writing. I'm just like, I'm in. I'm like, I'm in on his monologues, his crazy, deranged, narcissistic, monster like monologues that isn't like Frank in reality. Frank, I tried to do a thing there, and
move on quick. No.
Move on. Frank Grillo, I thought is a very captivating lead. Like his voice acting, it was like actually just the grovelness of his voice. I don't know why. I was like, it fit really well, but I'm like, I want to hear more of him. Frank Grillo, just speak to me, daddy. I don't know. Like I don't know what it is, but I'm like,
be my new Siri.
All I know is I understand why Princess really was into the older men. I get it.
Old Rick Flag.
Also, Rick Flag Jr. and Rick Flag Sr. being like very similar characters and like very similar, like it's such a. I like how they explained it, or they tried to explain it, but it threw me off because I'm like, Rick Flag Jr. is not that young. he's not a young character.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's,
Like Joel McKinnon, he looks
he's
like a
like 30s.
40-year-old
Yeah,
fucking.
40. Yeah.
And Frank Grillo is. I don't think he's much older than Joel Kinnaman, is he?
Probably not. I can't
I should have
imagine he's
looked
more than
this
like
up.
50. Yeah. Probably like 50, if I had to guess.
Uh, Joel, what's his name? Kinnaman? Oh, I didn't know
But
this.
yeah,
Okay,
I do like how they did that. I mean, they're basically the same character, but they're also not the same character.
yeah, and it almost comes across as like you're backtracking. Oh,
Mm.
okay, this actually makes sense. So Frank Grillo is 59 years old. I did not think he was 59 years
I
old.
would have guessed he was that close
And
to 60. Yeah.
Joel Kinnaman is 45. So there's a 15-year, wait,
24 year.
14, 14.
Yeah, 14.
59
Yep,
minus
yep, 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 yep,
45.
yep. Yeah, sorry.
So
My
there's
computer glitched
no, you're
out. I
good.
had a brain fart. My brain also glitched out for a second there.
There's a 14-year difference. And then in the cartoon, they're like, yeah, I had him when I was 18. And they explain it. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
I'm happy you explained it because it didn't make sense in my brain.
Mm.
But yeah, they're very similar, and I thought just they more or less like are the same character.
Mm.
And I know they do this in comics, and I know Rick Flag Senior and Junior they did the same. Like that's a thing, and I also know that like in Marvel, Nick Fury Senior and Junior is also a thing. Senior is the
Okay.
white version of the character. Junior is the black version of the modern character.
Okay. I
So
didn't know that.
more or less, it seems like they were doing that.
Mm.
What I really loved about this show too is that every monster was their like in a weird way their own tragic villain.
Yep. Yeah.
Like yeah, they're monsters, but they're not like they weren't just born monsters. They were made this way.
Mm.
Dr. Phosphorus was obviously not the greatest human, but was forced in that
Yeah.
situation and became that monster.
I mean,
And you were like,
he was trying to cure cancer or whatever, right? Like,
mm-hmm,
wasn't that his whole
mm-hmm.
thing? Like, yeah, he took some money from some shady people, but he was trying to cure cancer, and he just got the
Yeah, and
absolute worst ending possible.
like he's not the most morally or ethical person in the world.
Mm. But he's not a villain.
He's not. Well, he became a villain,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
understood
As a
his
person,
villain.
though, yeah.
Bride was born but falls in love with Eric, not Frankenstein, and basically for 100 years is chased
Shouldn't that be
by
like the other way
Frankenstein.
around? Because isn't the whole
Huh?
thing everyone always says that the doctor's name is Frankenstein and Frankenstein is
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein's monster?
Yep. So I asked. So here's the thing. And you've been to my house.
Mm.
You've seen the Frankenstein bride stuff
Yeah.
everywhere. If you go to my house, there is Frankenstein all over the place. There is the bride all over the place. Like I have a whole. I was looking at it while taking a shit right before doing this episode because there is a poster of the bride and Frankenstein in the bathroom. And so I asked Sapphire. I was just like, before we even started this, what her thoughts were on the take, and she kind of just explained it like she's so used to the characters being told of that Frankenstein is the victim,
Mm.
and that's the story, and that's like
The
the lore
sympathetic
that she
monster.
knows. The bride was more or less the same. Frankenstein was a sympathetic monster, whereas like this version was like the. I think this version was like the general population version of it, where Frankenstein's the monster. So I think
Mm.
they took that lore of it, and she kind of explained it like I really like how James Gunn wrote everything. Like he really likes these two characters, but she's having a hard time being like they're different. They're not the same Frankenstein.
Mm.
But the bride more or less is the same. Like she's like, yeah, if like those events happen, her character seems right on track. Whereas
Mm.
I feel like this Frankenstein is more or less like what everyone thinks of rather than what actually was written.
Right. Like the perception,
So
yeah.
but yeah, so Bride was born, fell in love with Eric. You get the backstory of like her learning different things. You see that love, and then Frankenstein kills, and then it's kind of just what Frankenstein does.
I mean, not to get
Um,
too like in the weeds here, but I mean that's like grooming, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, like
I
literally
mean,
creating a person and
basically, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Thanks, Brandon, for ruining a love story. I mean,
uh,
it's not. It
I
is
mean, he
definitely a
created
question
her.
of like,
Yeah.
is this the ethical, moral thing to do? You know, if you create life, your moral. Yeah, it's more or less your father romantically getting involved. I don't know. I think like in this weird situation where it's like the reality is completely being switched, you know, because like if you have a child through the natural process, there is like that 15, 20, 30, 40 year gap, whatever that age gap is.
Mm.
Whereas like this, it's like you more or less you do an experiment and then you know you have a being that gains 20 years of maturity rather quickly.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we should move on.
that's where I'm like, full stop. But yeah, it's a weird twist on things. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like,
It's
I
a
don't
cartoon.
know what's
Yeah, it's a
right,
cartoon.
what's wrong. I just know it happened in the cartoon. I'm not going to say I accept it or this is what we should.
I'm sorry. I should have even brought it up.
How dare this is what happens when we get into the weeds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean
That's
it's a
what I.
very
That's what I
gray
thought. Yeah,
subject.
that's all I could think about when I was watching
I'm
that episode. I was like, "This is weird."
not saying it's a great love story, man. It's just I
All right.
anyway. Then we have Weasel has the backstory, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Weasel might have like the most
Tragic.
tragic
Yeah.
because it's like he's framed as just like he murders children,
Yeah.
and it's
And
like
he did.
no,
He actually.
he's more or less a dog
Yep. Yeah. It's basically just a fun-loving animal. Yeah.
who wants to play. Who like if you attack him or if he gets the order to attack, he will fucking
Yeah.
destroy you like the monster does. But naturally speaking, he's just a very anxious dog who wants love.
Mm-hmm. He's got those
And
bug
so
eyes
like
like my Chihuahua.
oh god, I see it now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hers aren't quite
like
that bad, but.
his story's so tragic because like
Mm-hmm.
he found a family, and
Mm-hmm.
then that family gets tragically burned alive, and
And he gets blamed for it.
he gets blamed, and then like the one he made the connection for, he watched die, and I'm like that's sad. Oh, he's just chasing squirrels. I'm just like, God damn, like, and I love that little bit of like he's just chasing squirrels because I feel like a lot of people suffer from like different like mental illness that you cannot see, but like
Mm-hmm.
from the outside looking in, you're just like, oh, he's just it's minor. You're just playing it
Mm-hmm.
off. It's like he's having a dream. It's like no, he's going through some trauma right now. But of course, you don't know that because he can't
Communicate
communicate
it.
that or speak it to you. Yeah.
Mm.
Nina, we learned about her story the
Yeah.
last episode. It's the one that's probably the most fresh in my mind. And then
Mm.
GI Robot, he just wants to kill Nazis with his friends, man.
Yep.
That's all he wants. His
Yeah.
story's like tragic and like
In a different kind of
missing
way.
his
Yeah.
like missing his he's like the he reminds me of like the high school graduate that
Mm.
never was able to move on and he just wants to just play video games with his friends.
Mm.
Like that's all he wants to do. You know, and like everybody else has families and they're doing all their other things. Like I just want to kill Nazis with my friends, and that's what he's looking for.
Yeah. Then he finds this friend or finds a new friend that takes really good care of him, and it turns out they're all Nazis, and he murders every one of them.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
How unlucky. I mean, how if you are a Nazi, why would you buy a Nazi killing robot?
You know, if we parallel it with real world, it makes sense.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. Yeah. Not to get into too much into the deep political nature of our world, but it just seems like, yeah, you take the truth of something, they're going to think of it a different way. And they're like, I don't know. I'm not surprised. It's not it wouldn't surprise me
Yeah,
that
fair
this
enough.
happened. Like if there was a robot that murdered Nazis, it wouldn't surprise me that a Nazi bought it, brought it to the world, and then a massacre happened because it brought it to a Nazi gathering. It wouldn't shock me.
No. All right.
Then
Moving
again,
on.
a lot of shit would shock me right now. Or a
Yeah.
lot of shit wouldn't shock me at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I
So,
digress.
yeah. The Mina's was also pretty tragic. I mean, she literally didn't do anything. She was just a baby born with a deformity.
Yeah.
Her dad
And
loved
her
her.
father
Loved her
I feel
a
like the
lot.
dad almost had I feel like the dad almost had a more tragic story.
Well, yes and no, but
I mean, I guess
he
as a
dies in the
father,
end. Yeah, he dies in the end, so
yeah.
he's not alive to continue living that tragedy like she is. Well, I guess neither is
That's,
she.
oh shoot, I was gonna do spoiler before
Oh,
all of
sorry.
this. Maybe I'll have to do a preview.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. There's
Oh
only 7
yeah,
episodes. Go watch it. It's not that long. It's worth it.
it's not. It's not. Yeah, spoiler. We're talking to everything. Nina's story is very tragic, especially with the ending, because like
Mm,
she is the most innocent
mm,
person or monster of all of them,
mm,
including Weasel here, and she's the one who essentially takes the punishment. But I
mm.
also, we can get into it, but we can get into it. Well, yeah, you know, F it. Let's get into it. Nina, let's
Okay.
talk Nina. Because I think
Is
her
it is it is
backstory,
it Nina or Mina? I thought it was Mina with an M.
it's Nina. It's
Is it
Nina
Nina
with an
with an
N.
N? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I do have some information about her too, because I looked her up because I wasn't I'm like, who is this character?
Mm,
I think her, if she had a name, it's Mermaid. Like that
okay.
would be her comic title. But I think she's most commonly known as Nina. She was written by Jeff Lemire, who did some things for Creatures Commandos, Frankenstein, about a decade ago.
Okay.
I didn't read this comic. I had to look it up. But Jeff Lemire, I'm trying to look and see if his comics on there. He did a bunch of different projects. Sweet Tooth is probably his biggest non-DC thing. Sweet Tooth
Okay.
is now a Netflix show. The Netflix show
Oh,
is
okay. I didn't
okay.
know that
His
was a. I
comics
didn't
really
know that
good.
was a. I didn't know that was a comic.
Yeah, Sweet
Okay.
Tooth. Yep, that's a comic written by Jeff Lemire. Comics actually really really good. The show is it's okay.
Okay.
I didn't mind the first season. I didn't really want. I didn't have interest in doing the other seasons because I didn't trust Netflix to fully adapt it well.
Mm.
Hope One Piece season 2 is still good.
Yeah. Knock on some wood. This might be the only
Knock
One
on
Piece we
wood.
get this
So
for a while.
yeah, well, until April.
Yeah.
We have so much happening. We have Invincible until then. We have
Yeah.
Daredevil till then.
You're
We're
right.
good.
You're
We're
right. You're right.
solid.
Yeah, but One
Um,
Piece.
I mean, you still have to watch all the subs, right?
I have like 3 episodes of the sub I haven't watched. I've watched all the rest of it.
Ah, shit. I'm not. I was hoping to get caught up to you.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
I'm like 2 episodes into the sub,
Yeah, no, we
maybe
got
three.
like 3 episodes left, and I'm pretty sure like we're in like a different tangent thing, so it's gonna end like on a side story. So it's like hard to even want to watch the last couple episodes before it goes
Mm,
back. But all right,
that's
continue.
fair.
Sorry,
All right.
One Piece sidetrack.
General, or not general thoughts of this. All right. So I'm gonna do a segment. I'm
Mm,
gonna call it. I got some questions.
okay.
I was trying to do a soundbite for this. I got some questions, but I'm like, I don't like my voice enough. I need someone else to record this. All right. So I got some
For me.
questions. And I got 12 of them. Does this show tie into the larger narrative of Gods and Monsters, which is the first like act, phase 1 of DCU, which was titled like a year ago or 2 years ago? Does this show tie into the larger narrative of Gods and Monsters, or was this made because it's a standalone story?
Uh, you know what?
That's my first
I
question.
haven't really thought about it a whole lot, but it probably is setting up
Mhm.
because the Mascara is a really big part of that story. I mean, like they're like the gods, right? In the gods and monsters story or
Yep.
whatever. So the fact
Mhm.
that we're starting off with like Cersei or whatever trying to basically kick off an apocalyptic event. Well, I guess well, I'll try to stop. Yeah, I got a little confusing there then. So she was actually trying to stop it
Yes.
for real. So,
Yep.
but the fact that they're involved at all makes me feel like, maybe it's not like this isn't the story. Maybe that's not the event that was going to lead into the gods and monsters, but at least they're
Hmm.
trying to like set up the bigger world as a whole. I mean, the fact that they come right out
Yeah.
and like start referencing, the mascara and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, another project in the first like act or part or whatever, I think is part 1. I think they're
Okay.
going with. I don't know. They're phase 1. Their first like, yeah, whatever we're gonna call it.
Wave.
First part.
Yeah.
First wave. Yeah. Paradise Lost, which is supposed to be a Game of Thrones like show for Themyscira, Wonder Woman backlore or backstory. Like that's going to be a television show. So I think I'm going to say I think it does tie into it, but I think like initially this was supposed to be just a smaller story that James Gunn was going to
Mhm.
write prior to taking over. And so I think he had a lot of the work done. And but since they basically just gave him the keys to the car and be like, hey, make your own universe, he's just more or less transitioning the show into it because a
Yeah,
lot
maybe
of the
just
work was
wrote
already
a little,
done.
yeah, wrote a little bit more into that to tie the mascara
Mm-hmm.
and stuff into it. Probably, I could see that.
All right. Question number 2. And I actually wrote an article that had the
You
same
wrote an
message.
article.
No. I read an article that with the same message. Um, but the I could write an article on this. And this isn't to you, this isn't to us, this is more or less to James Gunn. How could you make me love Lena and then kill her? Fuck you.
Did you say
that's more or less the
Lena?
question. Nina, how could you make me love
You're
Nina and
killing
then
me,
kill her?
guy. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, uh, yeah. I mean, GI Robot also. Oh no, he did make it out in the end. Yeah, he got
You didn't
rebuilt.
make it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
So is it
You're
just?
just like, oh,
Is she the only one that died from the team? Like actually?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh. Didn't think about that. I felt like more people died, but I guess not.
Well, I mean, Princess died. A bunch of random soldiers
Yeah.
died.
Yeah. A lot of like,
That one
is
professor died.
is Clayface dead?
Clayface,
They
probably
can't.
not.
Yeah,
It's
there's no
Clayface.
way they could. Yeah, there's no way they kill Clayface off like in
There's
some
also a
random show
Clayface
before
movie
we
that
did.
also, yeah. There's also a Clayface movie that also got announced and greenlit
Okay, okay. You know that's weird,
during
but
the
I'm not.
show.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not
I'm not,
questioning anything at this point. He hasn't let me down yet.
no. The Nina part though too is just like I do think her death makes the most sense in the sense of like she's not a monster. She is physically a monster, but mentally she's not a monster.
Yep.
And I think like
I mean, she
she
never
died,
really
but I think
did anything at any of the missions. No offense to her. She was just kind of like a voice of reason
well they just
everywhere.
assumed she was good in water because she could swim,
Yeah.
but she never does anything. And you're right, and I think that that's the whole point was like she was never a monster. She was never trained. She was just caught because she swam in water. She can just
Mm,
swim in water. That's it. She has no combat training. She has no like actual like purpose being there, but she's labeled a monster, even though she's arguably probably the most human of all of them.
mm-hmm.
But her whole purpose, I think, more or less, her whole purpose was to give Bride humanity,
Mm.
and I think
Like
is more or
their
less like an
relationship.
arc turn for Bride. Yeah,
Mm.
because like Nina was just looking for love. She was just looking for friendship. She's just looking for people that she can relate to. She got that a little bit with GI Robot. GI Robot blows up,
Mm.
which makes that even a little bit more sad now watching it because it's like she just wants that connection, and then she tries with the Bride, who the entire time, belittles her,
Mm.
but and the Bride is the one who convinces her to try to kill the princess, which I think
Yep.
is a cool subversion. She's the monster, the princess is the princess, but like the princess is the one who has military training. The fucking like they didn't
Absolutely
realize,
eviscerates her. Yeah.
yeah, and like just completely overestimated Nina, underestimated the princess, and it kind of makes the Bride like realize that like, oh no, she fucking cares. Like
Yeah.
she's devastated by this. And like because of that tragedy, kind of humanizes the Bride to become the leader of this group.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's tragic, it is sad, but I'm like, oh man, you kind of just use Nina to make the Bride a more of a human character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess that's the question of how you could do this,
Yeah. You
but
answered your own
also like
question.
I did, I know. It wasn't the point. But
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna rattle these off.
Yeah.
Did
What do you
this
got?
show do enough to make you trust James Gunn vision? And I think you
Well,
already answered
yeah.
this.
I mean, because it's not just a show. I mean, we have
Mm-hmm.
Peacemaker, we have Suicide Squad.
Yep.
I'm a very big fan of the way that he's able to like kind of navigate like the levity and also like the really dark stuff and then
Mm-hmm.
gore and stuff mixed in throughout there. I don't know if like every DC thing is going to be super gory and adult. I assume it's probably not, but everything
Yeah.
we've gotten so far from him has been that.
Other than maybe Guardians, but that's like more
But that's not,
teenage angst.
yeah,
I
and
think
that's not DC.
true, 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 true. But that is James Gunn.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like in his
I
DC
guess
realm, everything has been really, gory and had that kind of
I
tone
feel
to it.
I feel like Superman is gonna like be more Guardians and be more
Mhm.
Scooby Doo
Well,
ish
I hope so,
than
because I mean, I don't think I want
I do
Superman to
too.
be like these.
Well,
I don't want to,
yeah,
in the sense
I
that
don't think yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't think Superman would ever fit in. I feel like he would more or less like Superman reacting to all of it.
Yeah,
And I think we'll still probably get that, but maybe not as a gory as it was. Um, was the soft launch a good call?
I mean, I think it just added to the hype for Superman.
Hmm.
I
I think
mean, the
yeah.
trailer's already got a lot of hype out there, and then adding like this show that's just like solid, you know, just kind
Hmm.
of reaffirms that okay, we're gonna get something interesting.
We got a lot of like tidbits. We got a lot of silhouettes and a
Hmm.
lot of like this show feels like Young Justice and Invincible. Whereas like the world's already lived in, we already have a
Hmm.
lot of lore. It's more or less we're just rediscovering or we're discovering what lore is out there.
Hmm.
We already have a silhouette of Batman. He's a very thick Batman, which I'm
Hmm.
fine with. I think, yeah,
I think like Dark Knight Returns
um,
Batman's what I think about. Just
yeah, yep.
big.
And that's what the silhouette is, just big,
Hmm.
thick. We got mentions of Bloodhaven, we got mentions of Metropolis, and we got mentions of Star City. Nina being from Star City.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's. I just like that. Like he's more or less just building up the world before we get Superman. Because if you watch the trailer of Superman, there's just so much going on. Like
Yeah,
it
oh yeah.
seems like it's
The
kind of like
world.
Invincible
Mm,
season
the
one,
world
where
is
Omni
there.
Man's
Yeah.
just constant. Yeah, he's constantly dealing with problems, and I'm like, I think Superman's going to be like that, where he deals with a lot on a day to day basis, and that's
Mm,
different from like the other Superman movies or shows where it's like it's more stagnated out,
mm,
where it's like big events happen like infrequently, whereas like I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more frequent, very much
mm.
like Invincible. All right,
I'd also
how?
real quick, because we haven't
Oh
touched on it yet. I would like to say that I love the idea of like kind of combining the whole DC universe and having like it be mixed media, where like some of it is in cartoons and some of it is live action. And
yeah,
like I'm totally
hmm
fine with even like mixing back and forth, like taking some of these
hmm
characters from animation, putting them in live action, and vice versa, which we've already seen with characters from the Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos.
yeah, I like that too. Uh, how big do you think the bride's going to be? And I put this as two different questions, but we'll put them together. Bride and Frankenstein. How big do you think they're going to be for this phase of Gods and Monsters?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. Like, is this gonna like, are we trying to start some like really big series? Like, I didn't even know if we're getting like a continuation of the series. Like, is that even
I
a
think we get.
guaranteed thing?
Well, the next question is the new team worthy of season two? Because I think I don't think it was a no. I think he did Green Light season two.
Okay, so we're like
I
guaranteed.
think James Gunn. Yeah, I mean James Gunn can just greenlit his own show, so
Right,
I
right.
know they were joking. There was a joke between him and Dean Lowry. They were just like, "Is there going to be a season two?" And he's like, "I don't know. Is the writer going to greenlight his own show?" And he looks at like James Gunn, and he's just like, kind of just nodding and like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I got excited for it. I didn't realize that, like I usually do when I watch shows. I don't realize that the season finale is the season finale when I'm watching it. So at the end, when they start
Mhm.
all of a sudden like introducing all these people, I was like, "Oh, this is the last episode, isn't it?"
I
And
mean,
I
it's
looked it up.
episode
Yeah,
7.
yeah,
There wasn't much of an epilogue either. It's just kind of like,
yeah,
here's the rest of the next team, and you're like,
yeah.
wait, what? And you're like,
Okay,
oh,
what is? Oh, that was the last
King
episode.
Shark. There's a mummy.
Yep, yep.
Weasel, Doctor Phosphorus, GI Robot Spec. I feel like I'm missing like one other character.
Wasn't there like an arrow dude or something? Was that what there was? There's some other
There's a
monster
mummy.
thing. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember.
I think King Shark's the biggest one. You're like, I remember him. Suicide
Yeah,
Squad. Pretty
yeah,
great. He's
yeah.
fun.
Wonder if Sylvester
Uh,
Stallone's gonna voice him again.
he's not. I don't think he
Ah,
is.
it's too bad.
I believe it's some other character. It is, but I don't know.
I get it,
I'm
but
okay, like
if you're
I'm
gonna
okay
change
with
something
voice
on
act.
voice, yeah.
Yeah. So it's as long as he does a good job, I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
Um, what ramifications? Wait, do I want to? What ramifications come from killing the princess?
Well, I mean, they're all talking about how it's going to start a war between them and them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe this does kick off, the big war that leads into what's going on in the future
Mm-hmm.
for gods and
Do you think?
monsters.
Do
I
you
think
think
there's got to be
Cersei
some
told the truth?
consequences.
Yeah.
Uh, at this point, yeah. I mean, they kind of confirmed that she was telling the truth, right? Because it was
Mm-hmm.
the like expert or whatever that came in and kind of gave her opinion on it was telling the truth. That was the real expert, that she can't make up like visions or whatever. They can only show what
Mm-hmm.
actually is real. So it does seem like it was probably telling the truth. Whether or not there's more to that is another question.
Ooh, I just thought of it. So, like, what if the princess isn't dead?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, shot in the head, bullet in the head. You're right, but like, we're in a universe where like the bride
Was
can be reanimated.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good
So,
point.
like, what if and they have future technology? So, if they reanimate the bride or the princess,
Yeah. Or maybe she didn't even die. Maybe I mean
maybe,
she could have. I mean, it might have just been a visualistic choice or whatever. But when she stabbed the crap out of Nina in the pool or whatever, her eyes
Mhm.
like changed to like bright blue.
Yeah. Ooh, yes, yes, yes. I remember seeing
So
that and be like,
uh,
ooh.
maybe there's more to it. Like it kind of felt like it was just like a cold like training thing, but at the same time, maybe there is something there behind it. And you know what else it could be?
So there's,
Maybe there's
oh,
this is like a self-fulfilling prophecy where
yep, that's what I was gonna say.
because the bride shot her because she was going to do that,
Mhm.
that's what actually causes her to go through with the
Yeah.
stuff that she was trying to stop to begin with.
Well, let's play the silhouette of the tape of the silhouette, right? Or the tape
Mm,
of the apocalypse and all the silhouettes. There was Blue Beetle, there was Superman, and there was Batman, all
mm,
dead. And my thought was, like, what fucking causes this? Like, what brings point A to point B? Because there's no like motivation. There's nothing that like propels this
mm.
other than the vision itself. So like maybe it's the whole we have a vision. Bride kills her. Now she like really wants to kill the world
Yep.
because of this. Like the U.S.
Yeah, the classic
Um,
self-fulfilling
also,
prophecy.
wasn't everyone a little too cool at the end? Because like
What?
the princess was just like they were by themselves. The
They
bride was
hear a
already trying to kill
gunshot.
the
Yeah.
princess.
Yeah, they hear a gunshot and they all just kind of leave. Yeah. That was a
I'm like,
little weird to think.
everyone's a little bit too cool for this. Like they were trying to murder you. You're just like, oh, I get it. I understand where you're coming from with like no other guards around. I'm like, this is a literal fucking monster who
Yeah.
tried to kill you. Understandably, but you're
A
just
little
gonna
trusting.
like
Yeah.
be in a room by yourself
Yeah.
and they're gonna have weapons on top of it. So it's just, I'm like,
Yeah. Hey, there's know something we don't know, or we're way overthinking
mhm.
all of it.
I have two more questions.
Okay.
Is the team writing going to be a theme in the DCU?
I mean, that's kind of been like a theme with James Gunn, hasn't it? Be curious. I mean, Superman will be the
Yeah, and
big
I
thing
think,
because Superman's the first like real solo hero. Like he doesn't. I mean, obviously he's a
but
Justice
he's
League,
not
but
solo in there.
yeah, that's true.
I mean,
So I
I
guess
mean,
we'll see how much it plays into it, like how major the other characters are, and if it feels like it's like a team
mhm.
up movie or if it feels like it's a Superman movie.
I feel like it's going to be a Superman movie, but I also think there's going to be a huge team up part in it because Mr. Terrific, who does a lot of team ups, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, obviously, and Hawk Girl, and Metamorpho
Mm.
is also going to be in it too. So I'm like, is there we just going to get a lot of team writing in the DCU because it does feel this way, and I feel like I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean it's good. Yeah, it's good team writing,
Um,
like the best team writing. So
I think Superman is going to be like that's going to be one of the sub stories of Superman from a writing perspective. What does James Gunn do with Superman? Is it going to feel more team like, or like is he going to lean
mm.
on more of that solo hero adventure?
Mm.
And like is he, and more or less I think he is going to do a mixture of things, but is he going to branch out from the
Mm.
team writing?
Right,
We'll
that's a
see.
question.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have one last question, and I
all right,
wrote
hit
this in different fonts and text.
it. Okay,
So I'm gonna quote the bride.
okay.
A power mad, sadistic, narcissistic Disney princess who wants to destroy the world. Do you think at any part this is James Gunn talking about Disney in any sort of way?
It's just a cheap shot at Disney.
I don't like is it just like is he thinking about like Bob Iger when he's writing this?
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, I mean, he was allowed like the freedom that he wanted with the Guardians of the Galaxy
Mm-hmm.
trilogy.
It's
So I
fair.
mean, he's got to know
He
that
also got
there's
fired
like,
by them
yeah,
and
that's true,
rehired.
and rehired, yeah. So maybe it's a little dig at Disney, or it's just a good line.
It is a really good line.
Yeah.
I love how they flip the script on it. I'm not going to kill you because you're going to end the world because you're a power mad, sadistic, narcissistic Disney princess who wants to destroy the world. No, I'm going to kill you because you killed my friend, my
Hmm.
only friend that I had in this world. I love that for the bride.
Hmm.
All right, let's get into ratings.
All right.
Um, do you want to be the first one to give the rating for season 3, or should I?
Uh, you know, a solid like four plus. I enjoyed the show. I can't think of anything aside from being like longer. I can't think of anything more that I would have wanted from
Mm-hmm.
it, which is a good
Man,
sign.
I laugh because like you said a solid 4 plus, and I literally typed up a solid 4
Yeah, yeah.
because I was trying to like I usually like to do the 4 - 4 plus to be like give a little leeway, but I'm like this is just a solid great TV show, and this is what I wrote: a Guardians of the Galaxy level success for this show, solid rating, solid animation, but
Mhm.
what makes this special is the characters, a James Gunn specialty. It's not necessarily a must watch on its own merit, but it's definitely a show that you'll be happy you took a chance on.
Mhm.
And that's Creatures Commandos. It's
Yep.
you're not going to regret watching it, but I'm not going to be like you have to watch it.
Yep.
It's a really
It's
great
not
show. Yeah.
it's not
And
the
I think
greatest show
that's
ever
just
made
James
on its
Gunn.
own, but yeah,
Mhm.
it is definitely extremely solid and worth watching.
Yeah, and I think that's just James level type of I just feel like that's the quality of his writing. I don't think he's ever made something that I'm like, damn, this is elite, this is amazing, this is the best thing ever. But everything he's ever wrote, or at least that I've um, watched, has been great,
I
has
mean,
been
Guardians
solid.
3 is
I'm
pretty
like,
good.
it's 4 plus, it's up there, four
Yeah.
plus five minus area.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's just it's there. I'm like, it's solid,
Mhm.
and if the DCU is just a
That
solid 4 the entire
yeah,
way,
then that
that's a great
look out
4.
Marvel. Yeah, right. That's what I say.
And that's early Marvel success,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but
All
comparing it
right.
at the same time, comparing like I guess we haven't gotten that far, but to watch like the new Superman movie when it comes out and compare it to like Iron Man, the first Iron Man, like that'd be kind of interesting.
Mm. Ooh, that would be a good comparison. We'll have to do that when Superman comes
Mm,
out 6 months from now.
right.
All right. NBC,
Mm,
most valuable character. And I have a list of like the rankings for characters. as always. But I think the one is, I'm pretty set on the one, I think.
Yeah, there's really one that comes to my mind.
But who are you thinking?
Probably the same person you're thinking.
Bride?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's the best character. I think the show is more or less about her character and her
Mm.
evolution as a leader.
I mean, she's really the one
She's
that
the
like
star.
kind of grows throughout the show. Like, you can't really say
Mm.
that like Weasel or Dr. Phosphorus really grow. They're kind of the same character throughout. Like, we learn about like why, but I don't know if they really grow through
I
the
think
show.
Rick Flag was weirdly kind of that character, but then like he got hit by Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Nina's another one where I'm like, ooh, I think she makes a jump at the end, but I can't. I think she's more or less. I hate to say it, but a stepping stone for the bride.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I hate saying it that way, but narratively speaking, she kind of is that character.
Yeah.
So I had Dr. Phosphorus as two because I think visually and like just Alan
That.
Tudyk in
Yeah. Oh, I
general, I
love
think
Alan Tudyk. Uh, it does kind of bring me
he's
to the little tangent. The other show, the other DC show that I feel like is super underrated, Doom Patrol. I don't know.
Doom Patrol.
Have you
Yeah,
actually
he's
ever
so
watched
great in
it?
the first season.
Yeah, the first season of that
I
show
watched
with
the
him as
first two
Mr.
seasons.
Nobody. It does start to fall off a
He
little bit,
fucking
but yeah.
yeah.
You know what's funny is like that show I feel like has a lot of similar vibes to like what James
Mm-hmm,
Gunn is doing. Like, it's got like kind of this ragtag team of weirdos. It
mm-hmm.
goes some really weird directions. It's not afraid to like push
It
weird
does.
boundaries. And I loved it for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
I agree. Yeah, Alan Tudyk is great.
Mm.
I'm happy he's there. Of
That
course,
scene with the
Sean
tanks.
Gunn, a staple in James Gunn.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah, Doctor Phosphorus was number two. Which simply like visually, I just think his character is just fascinating to watch. Like, and
Mm.
the animation behind his character is just it's really cool just to watch his body in the background. It's very trippy.
Mm.
Rick Flag was my number three. I think he was very much the main character of the show up until episode 5, and then the
Yeah.
bride kind of took over. Nina was 4 for me, and Princess was 5 because I think like she's an interesting character that like she's the interesting side character that you're like there's something off about her,
Yeah.
and I don't quite know it.
Still don't quite know it.
I kind of want to get into some lore a little bit about this character, the princess.
Okay. You getting
So
in from the
do
comics?
you know the act? I don't actually know her character from the comics, and I
Okay.
didn't
I
do
didn't know if she
much
is
to
in the
look at
comics.
it. I don't know if she is.
Yeah.
So the actress who plays her is Maria Bakalova.
Okay. Nailed it,
Do
I'm
you
sure.
know anything about her? Nailed it.
No.
She is the first actress ever casted in the DCU. Her character, more or less, the show was made around her character.
Okay.
And if you didn't know this, have you ever watched this second Borat movie?
I've seen parts of it. Wait, is that?
Do you know the famous part with Rudy Giuliani?
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, is his the one that plays his daughter in that? That's her.
That's her. That's her.
Oh, okay.
She's the
Okay.
princess.
Okay.
And like if you look at pictures, she fucking looks like the princess. Like
Yeah.
they're like almost a 1-to-1 match. And she might, so this is why I think like I don't think she's dead, and I actually think she might be one of the main villains for Gods and Monsters.
A little live action crossover is what you're
So that's
saying
back
because
to
it
the.
looks so much like her character.
Mhm.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. That's an
It
interesting thought.
does. It does. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I just looked it up before I was while waiting for you. I was just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna look up some more background information. And I was like,
It's
oh,
kind of
this is
like an
interesting.
interesting way to see if like there'd be a crossover between the animation or not. Like, oh well, if they're modeled after the person that voices them, it's probably a sign
Hmm.
that maybe they want to use them in live action at some point.
Maybe. I mean,
Tricksy.
Frank Grillo looks a lot like Rick Flag Sr. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. He's definitely that rough and tumble person. It's interesting. I didn't think about it
Hmm.
that way. Hmm.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Very
So I just
intriguing.
want to bring it up. I have a little bit more
Yeah.
lore. I have a little bit
Okay.
more lore, but yes. Um, backstory. This is where we get into the segment I call rankings. It's gonna be my
Rankings.
sound bit. Rankings. I could probably do better, but I don't know. Rankings are fun. I like ranking things.
Oh yeah.
All right, backstory of the main Creatures Commandos. We're not going to do episodes because I feel like more or less all the episodes are kind of just the same. Not that they were the same, but like they all
The
kind of just had
quality,
their
yeah.
own same great quality. I'm like, I think just
Hard
saying
to.
whatever the backstory is better.
Mm.
So I have a list of 7 of them.
There's
Number
7
7 is Rick
episodes.
Flag Sr. because we didn't get much of it.
Mm.
So Rick Flag Sr. is my number 7. We didn't get much. More or less, we got him talking about his backstory. So this is kind of like the
Talking
loose,
about
like,
his son a little bit, yeah.
yeah. Which I do love that they did that. Frankenstein's my number 6,
Yeah.
and this is more interactive too. We will decide
Yeah.
together because I'm still kind of like
I'm
on
listening
the
to what
order
you
of
got.
things. Frankenstein's number 6. I think his backstory isn't really tragic because it's very much the same as the bride. But I think what's tragic is like the people he hurts, like the story of him and the old lady, and like how he kills the old lady at the end because I forget his motivation for it,
Did
or if
he?
there really was any
Did he? Hang
motivation.
on. Did he kill her? Because it isn't the end credit
Yeah,
scene him sitting back at that house
new
with
old
her
lady.
again? It's a new old lady. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a new old lady, or it's either a new old lady or it's the same old lady, but it's more or less not a backstory. It's a story forward.
Okay. Okay.
I couldn't
Oh,
figure out what the post
like
credits
we weren't getting a flashback. We were getting a
a
future
flash forward.
story. Yeah. Okay. I could see that. I could
Yeah,
see that.
that just thematically worked. So I'm like, in my head, it's a flash forward, and that lady's already going to die, or it's a new lady that he kind of just like, here's my whole story of love, and then he's going to kill her at the end because that's just what he does. I think it's tragic, but I don't think it's tragic for Frankenstein.
Mm.
But it's 6. Like it's still really good. I'm like, it's just on the lower end of things. It's not Frankenstein's not a backstory that I think of. GA Robot I have at number 5.
Yeah.
And
He is
I
a
didn't think it
robot.
was going to be that low.
Yeah, but he is a
But
robot.
yeah, and this whole is like he's fine. He doesn't he doesn't have emotions, but this whole time he just wants to kill Nazis. But that was an interesting like ironic twist that we already talked about. 4 is Dr. Phosphorus.
Mm.
3 is Bride. 2 is Nina, and 1 is Weasel.
Mm. Weasel at 1.
Nina I had lower, but like I keep thinking Nina more, and I'm like, I don't know if this is just the bias. What's it called? The biases where it's like very close.
Mm.
There's an official name for it, but I'm blanking on it. But
Recency
like, I don't know if
bias.
it's just like recency bias. Yeah, I don't know if it's recency bias or it's like it's just a really good backstory. So Nina, I'm like, I question where I put her, but I have her at 2. As of right now, it's 2. It
Yeah.
might be less.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Realistically, I mean, her Weasel and Bride, and Phosphorus. I guess it's those 4, right? Like those are the 4 that we're talking about for the most part. The other ones are kind of
Mm-hmm.
all down
Mm-hmm.
below.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that the Bride could be lower on the list just because, like, her story is tragic, but it's also like short.
Yeah.
In a sense, she doesn't have like the full life experience kind of thing. I guess it doesn't really tell us how long she was living with him, like to
100. Well, yeah,
to
yeah.
like train. I mean, he wasn't 100 years old. He was just a human.
I,
He
I
didn't age as
it
much,
made it
maybe
seem
like a
like it was
year or
like
two.
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, probably a few years. It's still tragic, but it's
Mm.
love lost. Whereas Dr. Phosphorus literally gets framed for murdering his family, and then forced to turn into this monster where he can never be touched again. And that's pretty
Mm.
tragic. Weasel
Yeah,
is
that is.
Weasel. Weasel's story is tragic, but he's also like an animal at the same time.
I just really love how it played into it though, because like he
Hmm.
isn't an animal. He's a wereweasel.
Yeah. So he does have
He's a
like
man that
emotions. Yeah.
on top of the fact that like he's the reason why Nina died, and like why the princess didn't die there and then, because more
Yeah.
or less Weasel, who can't swim, it's this whole thing, he can't swim, is drowning to save the princess because the princess reminds him of the little girl that he couldn't save before.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like,
That's kind of tragic too.
ooh,
Yeah. Then she ends up dying anyways.
by the bride, but he didn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know better. Um.
Yeah, that's tough.
So yeah.
They're all pretty tragic in their own ways. And then Nina, obviously, I mean, she was just basically, if you get rid of the fact that she had gills, just like a normal person that was kidnapped and stolen away from her family and forced to watch her dad be killed in front of her, which is also extremely tragic.
Also had a mom who abandoned her because she is a freak.
Yeah, at
Mom
a
wanted
very
her
young
dead.
age. Yeah,
So it's tragic, but
and she lived her whole life being like bullied and teased, trying to fit into a normal life. So maybe she is
also,
number
do
one
you
still. And
maybe
her
I don't know.
ending, and her
I
ending.
have
I mean,
Weasel there.
and she didn't make it out alive. She dies in the end too. So I mean, that's got to put her over, right? Weasel makes it out.
Yeah, I have Weasel and Nina. I don't know if I want to flip it. So let's okay. Bride or Phosphorus?
I think Phosphorus is more tragic than Bride.
Okay, so Phosphorus will be 3. Bride is
4.
4. And then it's Nina and Weasel for 1 and 2.
I think I put Nina over Weasel. I mean, it's tough
You would? Okay.
if you consider like the rest of his life that he's lived as a weasel and stuff like that, as a wereweasel, then maybe. But he doesn't seem like. I guess yeah. We kind of talked about it today. He doesn't seem that unhappy most of the time. But we don't.
No.
But we don't know
I
what
guess
he's
I'm not going for
feeling.
like
Is I
most
guess the point.
tragic.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going for like best backstory, and I just think like Weasel has this like backstory of like he's framed for this awful thing, but he's not, and I feel like it just completely like changes the outlook of his character. At least for me, like
Yeah.
once I had that backstory, I was like, oh, I thought Weasel was just like, why are you bringing along this like this monster, so to speak? Like, what's the purpose? And then you realize, like, oh, he's not a monster. He's just more or less a happy dog who got framed because of the way he looks.
Yeah.
Which is a James Gunn specialty too. So we can always like circle back to it.
Yeah. We'll keep them. We'll keep them even. It's a tie.
All right, a couple more greenlit projects we're excited for. There's 12 new projects that's coming.
Okay.
Some are okay. So I'm gonna give you a list of green projects that I'm excited for, and we can switch it around too. Number 12 is Waller, TV show about Amanda Waller specifically.
Okay.
And I also want to mention, I don't think the voice acting for Amanda Waller was great. I think the actress who plays Amanda Waller is phenomenal. I think her voice acting sucked.
I didn't know.
There were so many times where I'm like, it just seemed like she just was like reading plainly on a sheet of paper without any emotions or understanding. That's how it felt. So Waller's 12. I have Swamp Thing at 11. And a lot of it's just because it's some far ways out, and Swamp Thing isn't just on my list of like high things I'm super excited for.
Didn't we already have a Swamp Thing show that like didn't come out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when the old DC shows.
DCEU, it got canceled like halfway through airing season 1.
Yeah, something weird like that.
Yeah. So, the Authority is number 10, which is like this weird group in the comics that I wasn't even aware of.
Oh man,
it's 10, but I honestly feel I wouldn't be surprised if this is the best project of the bunch, just because James Gunn is really good at just doing taking that. Like,
out of nowhere,
you don't know who these guys are? Well, you're gonna love them.
Yep.
Paradise Lost is number 9, And honestly, I might put that higher now
Yeah,
after me and you speaking, because this Paradise Lost might be one of the most important projects coming up
right. For the future of the
for phase.
PC, yeah.
Yeah. But it's number 9 because I don't know much about it, and it's hard to like speculate, and I know it's really a far ways out yet.
Yep.
Number 8 is Booster Gold. I believe that's going to be a series for HBO. It's just a far ways out. I don't know much about it. Booster Gold is an interesting hero. I think
Goofy hero, yeah.
he could have a really cool. Yeah, he's a really goofy hero that like he's like similar fame of like Deadpool.
Yeah,
A lot of people like Booster Gold. It's just it's a far ways out, and I don't know much about anything for the series.
right.
Number 7 is Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yes.
And the reason why it's not higher up is because there's no script. And there's still that talk of Batman Part 2 might be going into the DCU anyway.
I think it's just going to get canceled.
You think so?
Yep. At this point, yeah. I
It
think
might.
it's
It might.
almost a good idea for them just to cancel it and try to keep the DC like on track, like as far as like on one note for a little while, instead of having these
Yeah.
other side things. Not that I don't want to see the Batman 2, but I just don't know.
I more or less I like that James Gunn is just like Matt Reeves. Let's just if you want to do it, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to finish your project, let's do it. And I like that. It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't really make sense. It might be better off for them to do it, but I do like that they're giving Matt Reeves the opportunity to finish it. If they don't, I think we are okay with moving on. As much as I think we both love the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is the new Clayface movie that just got announced like within the last month.
It's a movie. Okay.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be live action too. I think the reason why like I'm all for it is James Gunn is just like it was a really good script, and after like the Penguin, that season, and that being like that whole like why is this even a thing? Why is this a show? Like we didn't ask for this, and then watching it and be like, oh, that's why it's a thing. Someone wrote a really cool idea with a point and a message, and because of that, it became this great thing. And I'm like, if they're just randomly greenlighting a project like a random Clayface movie, that means it's probably a pretty good script, and I'm for it. I think like if we're gonna get elite movies, I think elite movies are gonna come from really more obscure projects like Clayface. All right, this is my top 5.
Okay.
Creatures Commandos season 2 is my number 5.
After seeing the first season, yeah, it's hard to not be excited for another season.
Well, I know I know what to expect. I know it's happening, and man, it's that title sequence, by the way, too.
Oh yeah,
it's great. Number 4, Peacemaker season 2.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
This might be in a mix of like proximity plus we already know what to expect. Season 1 was phenomenal. It was a 4+ show. It's coming out in August, coming up really soon. So that's why it's like my number 4. Like I'm excited for it. Number 3, ooh, I'm gonna switch this. My number 3 was Supergirl, but I'm gonna say Lanterns. And I'll explain why when we get to Supergirl. We already got the 2 casting for Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart. Guy Gardner's gonna I don't know if he's gonna be in the show, but he's gonna be in the universe. I'm just excited because the idea of like a Lanterns True Detective show that's going to be more grounded in Earth base, but like I don't know. I'm excited to see what this project is about, and I'm excited to get more Green Lanterns shows.
Yep.
So I'm excited for it, and it's coming out shortly. My number 2 though is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay.
If I didn't read that comic written by Tom King, I wouldn't be as excited. This movie probably would be 6 or 7.
Okay.
But I read the comic. It's just how to explain it. it's a more jaded Supergirl who finds this like little girl on this planet. Her father got murdered. This girl wants revenge, and so she more or less helps this girl get revenge. But you just get really like this epic tale of like different civilizations and essentially Supergirl trying to find herself and become this like greater hero. And
Okay.
it's not edgy, but it's more of a hardcore Supergirl story
Okay.
that I can't really explain without spoiling more to it. But there's like the Bane villain. I believe it's like Creel or something similar. The one who killed the dad. They're just trying to like follow him through the cosmos,
Hmm.
and then they eventually the guy, the Creel or whatever his name is, eventually finds like this genocidal like race, alien race, and you kind of just follow the damage of this race.
Okay.
And I'm not giving it the explanation that it deserves because it is just a really good story. As well
Okay.
as I'm excited for Miley. I'm excited for Miley Alcock. I think she's a really good actress. She was good in House of Dragons season 1, and I think she's a really good fit for this movie.
Okay.
And then number 1 is obviously Superman.
Yep. Hard to argue
It's
with
the
that one.
first movie.
It's Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just Superman. Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's my number one project for 2025 too.
I would
I
have
think
to
it
agree.
just
There's
it
so
sets
much riding
everything
on
up.
it too. Yep. There's.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is
Uh,
screen projects I'm excited for. The top 5. All right, I have one last one.
okay. What do you got for
The
me?
villain. Who's the
From.
greatest villain of Creatures and Commandos?
I mean, they're all villains, right?
In a way, I will say Dr. Phosphorus is on this list because he's technically a villain or antagonist at some point.
Yeah. Um. I mean,
To me,
Clayface is
it's
a pretty good
between
villain.
2
What do you got?
or 3.
What do you got?
Okay, I wrote down 5, but my top 3. Clayface is at 4 because I think he's just exciting, but he's a cameo experience.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think the 3 that we're going for, I think number 3 will be Frankenstein.
Okay.
More or less, I think his character didn't need to be a part of the show. I
Yeah.
don't think it's, I
I
don't think
think
it's like
I think it's set it up.
backstory. Yes,
Yeah, especially since when he finally runs into the bride, she just shoots him in the head a few times, and that's the last time we see him for the rest of the episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think like it sets him up for like larger things potentially, but I think
Mm.
like for season 1, he didn't really do a whole lot other than take Frank Grillo, Rick Flag out. I keep calling him
And
Frank
Clayface.
Grillo because
He beat Clayface too.
yeah, but Clayface is an extra too.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, Clayface ain't no
I
slouch.
I think it's really between Cersei and Princess, and I think I'm gonna go Princess just because of like how it ended.
Yep.
But I think Cersei's the initial villain.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, she's the one that like initiates the conflict. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, especially after that murder of Nina at the end. Yeah, the
Yeah,
princess.
and then dies
Yep.
tragically, potentially.
Yeah.
Nah,
I think you're right though. I think she's not dead.
she's coming
Maybe
back, baby. She's a
maybe
cyborg.
I could see James Gunn using like this random little show as actually like a really big launching point for like the whole series. You're like setting up
Mm-hmm.
like one of the main antagonists for like the whole thing. I could see that.
Ooh. Okay. Let's talk larger picture, right? You've seen the
Mhm.
Superman trailer. You've seen all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
All right, we're going into the next segment. I was going to call "Give Me the Lore." Again,
Okay.
working title. And we kind of already talked about most of the lore that I've already like kind of found. Bloodhaven, Metropolis, Star City is all mentioned. We've seen Blue Beetle, who more or less is confirmed, and James Gunn even spoke like how he wants more Blue Beetle stuff. I don't
Mm.
know if they're going to take Blue Beetle from the Blue Beetle movie. I think that was their intention, but I don't know if that's going to be what's happening. But Blue Beetle, they definitely want more Blue Beetle, or that's what he said in a recent interview.
Mm.
But larger lore, right? Superman we know Lex Luthor is the villain, but we know there's an extra villain there. There's a black figure in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Cersei is out there, and we know that the princess potentially is apocalypse level villain.
Mm.
My question is, I feel, and this is a loaded question, I feel that there is more. I feel like we're setting something up that I don't know.
Mm.
Do you get the sense that we're setting up another person? Like, it's not going to be out of what we see. It's going to be like the main villain from Gods and Monsters. We haven't seen them yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we've seen like the actual like big bad,
Mm-hmm.
but I think maybe I could see it being like, these are pawns in place that are all moving towards that big bad
Yeah,
already from
and
the
that's
start of this conflict here.
thank you, by the way.
Yeah, it seems very Suicide Squad esque to kind of kick off the apocalypse through their actions.
Mm, it does. Task Force M, not
Yeah,
X.
yeah.
So my question is, all these pieces are circling, and it doesn't. I'm struggling to find like who are they setting up, because it feels like they're setting up something or somebody, and we have little bits of information. We know that there's going to be a monster kaiju in Superman. We know there's a black figure. We know there's Lex Luthor. We've
Mm,
seen that in the trailer. Um, we know that in Creatures Commandos there was a prophecy by Cersei that Polkastan and Princess Ida, what is her name?
Ilya?
Ilya, yeah. We know that like she was supposed to bring upon the apocalypse somehow.
Mm,
Still possibly can. But obviously there's something missing. And the question is, who is that? Who is missing or what is missing? Like, who is the circular villain or villains
mm.
that brings up, like who's the big bad here?
That's a good question. So, Gods and Monsters, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not the war between Atlantis and Themyscira?
I think that is Flashpoint.
Okay. What is the
God,
Gods and
there is
Monsters?
the Justice League Gods and
Yeah,
Monsters. This is
I
the
know I've
version
watched
of
some of all the
yeah, this is the
cartoons.
version of Justice League of where the Batman's a vampire and Wonder Woman is, I think she's in it. I forget. It's just a more twisted version of
Oh,
those
is
characters, a
that
more
that one?
monster. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I was
but I
confusing
think
myself.
Gods and Monsters isn't going to be that like based off that comic. I think Gods and Monsters is more or less there's monsters
And there's
and there's
gods.
gods.
Yeah.
Superman being God, Wonder Woman, Themyscira being God,
God. Creature Commandos
monsters
being
obviously.
monsters. Yeah.
So that's why I asked, like, is Bride Frankenstein going to be a bigger aspect of this because they are monsters? Superman is the god.
Mm.
Who's the villain of
Yeah.
this story? Who's circling? So
That's
I'm looking
tough.
at like the main. I'm looking at like the main. Like there's lanterns. There's Supergirl. I feel like Supergirl is its own thing, based off
Mm.
the story I read. I can't think of what's would circle. Peacemaker, I think it probably has bits and pieces of it.
Mm.
Suicide Squad, we already know, but that's Starro.
Mm.
The Thinker is in that movie too. I'm just trying to think of like who's the big bad here. Like it can't be Darkseid. I don't think
Right.
James Gunn
I
would do
would be,
Darkseid.
yeah, I would be pretty disappointed if it was Darkseid. The other,
And I would,
the
I wouldn't be
other like,
disappointed. I would be.
still excited, but yeah,
I think James Gunn and Darkseid. Yeah,
but it'd be cool to
I
go in a
just can't
different
imagine
direction. It
James
just
Gunn
feels,
doing Darkseid.
yeah, it feels very mirror-esque of what Marvel did with Thanos. If you go Darkseid right away,
Well, not just that, but just like they've already tried it. They did it in the
yeah, and
animated
the,
universe. They did it in the live action or
mm,
Zack Snyder. James Gunn very much seems like he takes like the villains that people forget about,
in
or
terms of
it's more obscure. So I'm like, who is the obscure villain that he's going towards? I'm gonna. Oh, I'm gonna do like top 25 DC villains.
Yeah, like world threats.
What's Yeah, I want to go like I want to just take the list of like what we could be working towards. So let me. Okay, I should have done this a little bit. So Dark Side, obviously, Brainiac's one,
That's what I was
but I don't
thinking
know if
was
the
Brainiac. I don't think he fits for. I feel like Brainiac is like an Ultron level threat, which I know is like
yeah.
shouldn't compare things so directly, but like that's like a like a one big event kind of thing. Brainiac. I guess they could do like some
Uh,
future thing where like he takes over and stuff, but that also seems a bit too
mhm.
Marvel.
Well, I think Brainiac's in Superman. I feel
You
like
think he's in
Brainiac is
the
just
Superman
like
movie?
that villain that I think he's in the Superman movie. That's my best guess is the second villain. Or Bizarro. I think Bizarro might be the black figure that he's fighting.
Yeah,
But I think
we do get
Brainiac
Bizarro a
is
lot.
I think Brainiac's it.
Brainiac is like one of my favorite
That's my
villains of all
guess.
time. So
I know. You're Brainiac 5 in Discord.
yep, yeah.
Uh Gorilla God is actually in the we didn't speak of this. Gorilla God is in that
Oh,
vision.
is in Creature.
He's a part of the
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
apocalypse.
remember that. Yep.
Yeah. He's the monkey in there. Ooh, completely forgot about it. Gorilla God. So he's a part of it too. So there's
Mm.
Injustice League or God, what's it? The
Legion of Doom.
not Masters of the Universe, Legion of Doom.
Legion of
Yes,
Doom. Yeah.
like that could be a part of it. And like Polka Stan, like the Princess Legion of Doom makes sense with Gorilla God. Oh, did
Yeah.
we just figure it out?
This is
It's
Legion of
Legion of
Doom.
Doom, isn't it?
I mean,
It seems
it
like
would
it's
be like
Legion of Doom, isn't it?
it would be interesting to have like a villain team up because we haven't really done that in anything yet, aside from like if you consider
Mm-hmm.
like Suicide Squad, but like to actually have like an antagonist group.
Team writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
We figured it
It
out.
does.
It's in a
Yeah.
ADHD
Yeah.
superpower.
It does kind of seem uh kind of fast to go straight to the Legion of Doom, but I guess if you set them all up in all the different movies and stuff like that.
Is it too fast? Like this is a universe that's not starting. It's already lived
That's
in.
true. That's true. That's true. They're already existing and stuff like that.
So
So, yeah,
yeah.
I could see
The
that.
princess doesn't the princess isn't a bigger character, is she? Like there's not like a Legion of Oh my god, I'm gonna just look up Legion of Doom characters and see what she fits.
Yeah.
We might have to do a whole new episode of like predictions. Legion of Doom.
DC prediction. And then it's not the
All right,
Legion of Doom
I'll
at all.
save that. We'll
Yeah.
save it, or if you want to look it up. I'm gonna look at other villains. Let's look at the other possibilities and not just get set.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think they do Black Adam at all. Ra's al Ghul, Bizarro. Looking at bigger villains, General Zod. I doubt they would go that route. Maybe another thing that they did though is what's it? Ultraman, different
Oh, yeah. I
dimensions,
mean, that could
Superboy
be,
Prime.
yeah. I don't
Would
know
they
if
go
they'd
that
want
route?
to. Yeah, I don't know if they'd want to go
Multiverse already?
multiversal. Yeah, I mean that's literally what Marvel's in the middle of doing right now with Robert Downey Jr. and Doctor Doom and stuff. So I don't know if
Okay,
they'd want to do that.
so my list ran out because it's 25 and like freaking Black Mask and Hush is on that list. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
No,
Okay, Legion of Doom seems most
I mean
appropriate.
the Anti Monitor, uh,
Yep.
Trigon.
I don't feel like they do Trigon without Teen Titans.
Yeah, Vandal Savage. It could be more interesting though if you did Trigon without, because you don't need Raven with Trigon. He is like his own thing
No.
without her.
Are you looking at Legion of
Oh,
Doom or other villains it could be?
no, these are other villains. Legion of Doom didn't really have anything good in it that seemed to fit the princess. Mongol.
Okay.
These are like
Yeah.
apocalyptic like threat villains that could
Mm-hmm.
actually like pose a threat to everything.
God, who could? I'm still on Legion of Doom. I can't get off of it. That's bias. All right, you continue on with your list. You continue on.
Yeah. Um, I mean, Anti-Monitor is a really cool one, but I feel like that's one that is like late into the story that you do Anti-Monitor.
Yeah. I don't know if the pieces revolve around Anti-Monitor, but I think Anti-Monitor fits. It's gods and monsters. And I keep looking at Legion of Doom, and I'm like, it just fits because Brainiac is part of Legion of Doom. Gorilla God's part of Legion of
Yeah.
Doom. Lex Luthor's
I
part
mean,
of
yeah,
Legion of Doom. Sinestro is a part of Legion of
Sinestro.
Doom.
Yeah.
Yes, Vandal Savage, I think, would be a decent character they bring back. So it's that I feel like the princess has to be somebody, like a variation of somebody that we know.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense.
Okay. Any other villains that you see that could hit Anti Monitor?
No, no, that's pretty
Mogul
much it.
maybe,
I mean,
but I don't know.
Doomsday.
If it's the gods and monsters, yeah. What did
Mm,
you do? Doomsday already?
no.
That's the
Well,
question.
Doomsday is
Okay,
such like
yeah,
a Superman level villain.
yeah.
Like I know technically destroy the world, but it's so
Okay.
hyper focused on
Lead,
Superman. It's hard to be like a main DC threat.
leading hypothesis: Legion of Doom. I think that
Yep.
fits very, very well.
Yeah.
So
I think that it ticks all the boxes, right? That's what we're going with.
it
Lock it
does.
in.
Lock it in. Legion of Doom. ADHD superpower.
Yeah.
It fits the team rating. It's the theme. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
James
Yeah.
Gunn, we figured you out.
Yeah. We're on to you, Gun.
We would love to have you on here to tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Come join
I
our
mean,
podcast for an episode.
hey, we have 10 to 20 viewers per episode. So, hey.
There'd probably be a lot more if you came.
Could you imagine? He just comes on, just like, since you don't have a huge following, here's all the secrets.
Oh god. It would get out.
Legion of Doom. I'm gonna start.
Or that'd be the worst.
I'm gonna start like blue skying him because I'm like getting into blue sky now. I'm gonna just start like talking to him and see if he responds. Like it's Legion of Doom.
Yeah,
I already
I
found
know
it
it.
out.
Yeah. I got you. I got your number, Gun.
All right. I think that's it for Creatures Commandos.
Yeah. I think
Brandon, you want to
nailed
say
it.
anything for the ending of the premiere of season 3?
I apologize about my chihuahua. I'll say that.
Your dog has a lot of things to say. Bina.
Yeah, she wants to tell us that she liked it. Hey, stop. If that's a happy sound she's making.
She's just chasing squirrels.
Yeah, just chasing squirrels. My poor chihuahua. Relax.
She's just warning us of the apocalypse that's happening. World
Yeah.
War III is coming. She's just letting us know. She saw the vision.
She's well aware.
But in our frame of mind, she's just chasing squirrels, man.
Yep. Just chasing squirrels, huh, Chihuahua?
Well, we predicted 2 things: Tina's vision and Legion of Doom coming for gods and monsters. All
That's
right.
it.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. This is season 3, and even if we're getting the
Yep. Thank you.